to get hold of this Richardson Kelly because it looks like that he's banning and blocking everybody from Strait Way, which I'm going to address that in that debate too.
And we have to give honor where honor is due and respect where respect is due. And this award is well deserved. Hebrew Man of the Year, Pastor Charles Dowell. Amen.
The guy I'm supposed to be debating has banned me and blocked me on Facebook. He has banned and blocked Elder Rufus. And I guess the only means of communication I have is with Michael Israel. I just don't understand these type of feminine traits and these feminine attitudes in these men today. I just don't get it. Apparently he's done banned me or blocked me because I can't get in touch with, I can't communicate with him. So I'm going to have to use my brother Michael Israel to try to set this debate up. And I hope he doesn't crawdad on me and get out of it. Because, the sole purpose of this debate right here is to let truth reign. And I think I allegedly got a viable and formidable foe. And I may even let Elias, if he can get off and work, I ain't may let Elias, my little son in the faith that I bought up. He's 21 years old. I may even let him hand his ass to him. John Calvin ain't even got a book in the scriptures. And you ask me what I think about John Calvin. John Calvin, as far as I'm concerned, to hell with him. He don't mean shit to me. Not a damn thing. And then I found out the other day that he said his wife was an elder. Can y'all imagine that? A woman elder. A woman elder. You can't make this stuff up. These people are pagan, masquerading Hebrew Israelites, Christians. That's what they are. I hope he don't back out. I hope he don't back out. Because I'm going to be unmerciful on him. Totally unmerciful. I mean, I am going to light him up. Get him over. And you know what? It's game over for you, Richardson Kelly. And bring your elder wife up in there. Bring her, and I hope that she don't get out of pocket too. Because she get out of pocket, I'm going to show y'all how to put her in pocket. And I'm going to put you in pocket too.
The mind tricks the body thinks the mind is crazy. The mind tricks the body thinks the mind is crazy. The mind tricks the body thinks the mind is crazy. The mind tricks the body thinks the mind is crazy. The mind tricks the body thinks the mind is crazy. The mind tricks the body thinks the mind is crazy. The mind tricks the body thinks the mind is crazy. The mind tricks the body thinks the mind is crazy.
Shalom, Lak, Ada, Yashara'ah, and to others, Shalom, Lak, Eda, Israel. What is going on in the Hebrew Israelite community? We have the Hebrews to Negroes Man of the Year, who is a pastor threatening and calling another pastor all kinds of disrespectful names, and had the gall to send public threats of what he'd do to him and his wife, all because of differences in the doctrine of polygamy. When did this become an acceptable behavior? How come the other leaders chose to remain silent in calling out this destructive behavior? Is this really what the Great Awakening is all about? Did Pastor Kelly really duck and hide from Pastor Dowell? Pastor Kelly, you really got your hands full on this. Let's see how you respond. Shalom. I want to make this clear that I take no pride in creating this video, but this is a very much needed word in which everyone in our community needs to hear. We are going to deal with a lot in this presentation. There is a much needed line, a much needed stand, a much needed divide that needs to be made in the Israelite community. It's time for all the pastors, all the mores within the Israelite community to take a unified stand in addressing polygamy, disruptive behaviors such as foul language, and the occultic behaviors that's constantly on public display. In this video and others to come, we, which includes the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, are going to address Pastor Dowell, Michael Israel, and others' disrespectful, unwarranted homophobic insinuations about me and the disrespectful threats made towards me and my wife, singular. We are going to expose their lies, deceptions, and their childlike behaviors that's on public display in their videos. I'm going to show you the root to why Pastor Dowell had this sudden sense of urgency to take extreme measures in his over-the-top name-calling and disrespect towards me and my family. Hamashiach is clear about the judgment that will come to Pastor Dowell, Michael Israel, and anyone who participated in the attempt to murder the reputation of me, my wife, and my family. We are going to address their occultic behaviors, their poor and deceptive teachings of the scriptures, their abuse of women, and lastly, their destructive tongue and other divisive acts. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 21 and 22, Hamashiach addresses the unwarranted homophobic name-calling of Pastor Dowell and others who deceptively choose to use in an attempt to destroy the character of their own brothers and sisters who disagree with their rhetoric. Verse 21 says, "Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, Thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. But I say unto you, that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Rakah, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, Thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire." Let's go to the Peshitta, which is the Aramaic translation of Matthew chapter 5, verse 21 and 22. It says, starting at verse 21, "You have heard that it was said to those who were before you, You shall not kill. And whoever kills is guilty before the court." Verse 22, "But I say unto you, that whoever becomes angry with his brother for no reason is guilty before the court. And whoever should say to his brother, Rakah, which means I spit on you, is guilty before the congregation. And whoever says to his brother, You are effeminate," in Aramaic, it means brutish, abnormal, is condemned to hell fire. The etymology dictionary definition of effeminate, it says, and we're just going to highlight the red portion of the text: womanish, voluptuous, tender, effeminate, make a woman. Pastor Dowell, Michael Israel, and other Israelites, they take pride in making homosexual insults towards others, such as pastors and mores, elders, and women leaders in the Hebrew Israelite community. For some reason, Pastor Dowell is under this delusion that he and Strait Way holds the patent for defining masculinity. That they are the standard, or should I say the template of what a man is supposed to be. Usually when someone has to go over the top in displaying their masculinity, they are usually the ones who is struggling with their own sexuality. Perfect example, the late Eddie Long.
And the problem today, and the reason why society is like it is because men are being feminized and women are becoming masculine. And everybody knows it's dangerous to enter and exit. You cannot say, I was born this way. I don't care what scientists say. You can be converted. You were not born that way. Let me pray with you. Let me tell you, don't you be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed. I don't know what I am. Tell me, take your clothes down, I'll show you who you are.
The minister is Bishop Eddie Long of the New Birth Missionary Baptist Church outside Atlanta. 3 young men now are suing Bishop Long, accusing him of enticing them with money, cars, clothes, and expensive jewelry in exchange for sexual favors. And Bishop Long's third accuser, Jamal Parris, says the bishop would, quote, discuss Holy Scripture to justify and support the sexual activity. Now, Bishop Long denies all of the allegations. These photos of Bishop Long in tight gym clothes, which appear to have been taken by the bishop himself, were reportedly sent to another one of his so-called spiritual sons and released by B.J. Bernstein, the attorney involved in the lawsuit, who you just saw moments ago.
See, our Dabar HaKodesh, which is the holy word in ancient Hebrew, gives stern warnings against those like Pastor Dowell, Michael Israel, and others who cannot bridle their tongue. James chapter 1, verse 26 and 27 says this: If any man among you seem to be religious, and bridle not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man's religion is vain. Pure religion and undefiled religion before Allahayam and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. The Etymology Dictionary definition of religion says this, and again, we're just going to highlight what's in bold. Piety, devotion, respect for what is sacred. So I want to reiterate, religion simply means devotion. It means commitment. Let's go to the Etymology Dictionary definition of religious. It says expressive of religious devotion. Better yet, let me just read that first line. Devout, pious, imbued with or expressive of religious devotion. So again, religion simply is the outward expression of your devotion or commitment. Now let's go to the Etymology Dictionary definition of bridle. It says to control, dominate, restrain, guide, govern. With knowing the meaning of these key words, let's revisit James 1, verse 26 and 27. If any man among you seem to be religious, in other words, devout, committed, and bridle not his tongue, in other words, control, restrain not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man's religion, in other words, devotion, commitment, is vain. Pure religion, in other words, devotion, commitment, and undefiled before Allahayam and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. So many within the Israelite community repeatedly refer to the remnant of Israel. I'm going to allow the Holy Word speak for himself in identifying the true characteristics of the remnant of Israel. Let's go to a key prophecy that gives a straightforward understanding and character of the true remnant of Israel. Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 13 says, "The remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity." Iniquity, iwal, in Hebrew means to violate the law, to act wrongfully or unjustly, unrighteous, wickedness, evil, perverse, nor speak lies. Lies, kazab, in Hebrew means falsehood, deceitful, untrust. Neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth. Deceitful, tharmayath, in Hebrew means fraud, delude, beguile, betray. For they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid. So I want to make this clear to Pastor Dowell, Michael Israel, and others who are behaving in this very disrespectful manner. You are not part of the remnant of Israel. I'll say that again. You are not part of the remnant of Israel. Your videos are filled with lies and absolute deception about me and my wife, singular. And we'll address that shortly, why I keep saying singular. The both of you were very disrespectful towards me and my family. If any of you watching this video have or are currently condoning their nasty behavior, you are not part of the remnant of Israel. If you are speaking lies, deceptions, and foul words against anyone, you are not part of the remnant of Israel. James, the brother of Hamashiach, gives a stern rebuke against those who cannot bridle their tongue. James chapter 4, verse 11 and 12 says this: "Speak not evil one of another. Brethren, he that speaketh evil of his brother and judgeth his brother speaketh evil of the law, and judgeth the law. But if thou judge the law, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge." There is one lawgiver. Let me say that again. There is one lawgiver. Let me say it one more time. There is one lawgiver who is able to save and destroy. What that means and what it's simply saying, there's only one that has a heaven and hell to put you in. Not a single person, not a Pastor Dowell, not a Michael Israel, not a single person has a heaven and hell they can put you in. So there is one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy. Who art thou? In other words, who are you? And I'm saying this to everyone that call themselves patronizing their own brothers and sisters with all kinds of name calling and obscenities, vulgar language. Who are you? Who art thou? Who are you? Who are you? Who art thou that judges another? This is strong. A very strong rebuke. Yahweh is not going to tolerate a person like these guys setting themselves up as being the judge, as Yahweh himself is. With that being said, many of you have asked the following question: Pastor, why did you remain silent through their barrage of insults? Proverbs chapter 11 verse 12 of the NIV says, and before I read this verse, I want to make this clear. I am not an advocate of the NIV Bible, but I like how this particular verse reads. It says, a man who lacks judgment derides his neighbor, but a man of understanding holds his tongue.
We're not tolerating Christian Hebrews. He's only been what you call a converted Israelite for about 4 months, bringing the pagan ways of Christianity over into the faith. It's nothing personal, but apparently he's taking this personal. Is in reference to Pastor Richardson Kelly. First of all, a few things y'all need to know about him. He's only been what you call a converted Israelite for about 4 months. 4 months, that's it.
I'd like to welcome Pastor Richardson. He's got some great words of wisdom.
So I want to do a simple call and response. And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese. China. Russian. Italian, Italy, German, Germany, Swedish, Korean, Korea, Egyptian, Egypt, Nigerian, Black. I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue. The issue with this country, because you were able to properly identify with all the groups that I called out in the countries that associates with them. But when I said black, everyone had to look at each other, try to figure out what you was going to respond to and what countries or what nationalities is associated with that. So I want everyone to understand that that is the underlying problem. That's the underlying root to the issues that we're dealing with right now. Our issues go beyond abortion. It goes beyond drugs. It goes beyond alcohol. It goes beyond prostitution. It goes beyond the Bloods and the Crips, homosexuality, senseless deaths. It goes beyond all the different issues that we see. The issue that we're really dealing with is what? An identity. It's an identity issue that we're dealing with. The ancient map of Africa, 1710. You can find this on Princeton University website. You will see a territory that's called Negro Land. On that same map, Northwest, South Central Guinea, you will see what is called the Slave Coast, and you will see a slave port by the name of Ouida. Well, what does Ouida mean? It means Judah. I'll say it again. Ouida means Judah. I encourage everyone to read Deuteronomy 28, and you will see everything we are going through is listed in this prophecy. Regardless of your belief systems, regardless if you're Islam, regardless if you're Kemet, regardless if you're a Nubian, regardless if you're practicing Roman Catholicism or the 5%, regardless of what religions you are currently practicing, guess what? Our nationality is Israel. Our tribe is Judah.
And this is the problem that we're having in this faith right here of being Israel, is that we got people brand new converted over from Christianity, and they're bringing the pagan ways of Christianity over into the faith.
All right, so let's start with Christ. All right, let's start with Christ. It means the anointed, synonymous with and translated to Greek Hebrew, Mashiach or Mashiach. All right? A title given to Jesus of Nazareth. In other words, Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. That is the paleo pronunciation of the name Jesus. All right? It tells us that this word comes from the Latin Christus, ultimately from the Greek word Christos, which means anointed. Now, I want to make this clear. Christ is not the last name. That is not a last name. Christ is not a last name. It represents what? Responsibilities. It represents the assignment. Yahweh Shai is the proper pronunciation. Jesus is a what? Transliteration. All right? So again, Christ is not a last name, contrary to what many believe. Okay? But let's go to the word mass. So we understand Christ, right, means the appointed. All right? Christ means the appointed. All right? So mass, this is what mass means. It means Eucharistic service, dismissal, to let go, sin. Wait a minute. So you're saying Christ plus mass, you are saying, when you say Christmas, you are saying the dismissal of the Mashiach, the dismissal of the Christ. Let's define dismissal. Okay? Dismissal. This is what it means. It means send away. Wait a minute. Dismissal means what? Send away. Send different ways. Break up. Discharge. Renounce. Abandon. So when you say Merry Christmas, you are saying that you are happy that Christ has been dismissed, that Christ was sent away, that Christ was broken up, that Christ was discharged, that Christ was renounced, that he was abandoned. That's what it means when you say Merry Christmas.
Apparently he got a little upset and said, unless I recant. That's what he told Brother Israel. And I got a bunch of text messages here. Every single thing I'm talking about, I got the proof sitting right here on this phone.
So far, I've addressed 2 lies Pastor Dowell stated about me. Pastor Dowell stated that I was in this truth for 4 months. I was able to easily debunk that lie by showing the clip of me speaking to over 4,000 people at the Black Lives Matter march held in Richmond, Virginia back on July 16th, 2016. I also debunked the notion that I bring paganism to the Hebrew Israelite community by showing the clip of me speaking against paganism within Christianity a few years back. Is Pastor Dowell suggesting that my teachings against polygamy is rooted in Christianity, paganism? Is he suggesting that having a woman elder in our ministry is a pagan practice? I want to say this to the women. I want to say this to all the women that is watching this presentation. Today, you will completely be liberated. I will be addressing Pastor Dowell's deceptive teachings of the suppression of the woman in the second half of this video. But in the meantime, I want to finish this much needed house cleaning. Now I'm going to give proper clarity as to why I chose not to debate Dowell. I'm going to fully expose why Dowell chose to go way over the top with his insults about me and my wife. I'm going to prove to you that Dowell really didn't want to have the polygamy debate. Here's a quote from Dowell. Pastor Kelly Richardson ducked out of the debate due to fear and knowing he can't win. Dowell stated that he has the text messages to prove why I chose not to move forward with the debate with him. So let's go to the actual text messages. Let's see if the text messages actually support his statements. Keep in mind, so far, I proved Dowell's words hold no weight. This is the supposed Facebook post I made on August 21st, 2019 that supposedly caused an uproar at Strait Way. I actually saw a video teaching of someone using a divided Israel to justify polygamy. That person actually believes Yah is married to two Israels. Apparently, this person truly don't understand the book of Hosea. A united Israel is the bride. The divided nation is the children in which judgment have come to them. Start with learning the meaning of the name Hosea. There was always one Jacob whose name was changed to Israel. So my question to you, the jury, did this warrant the nasty behaviors we witnessed from Pastor Dowell and Michael Israel? Did this post justify the behavior displayed by someone who functioned in the office of a pastor? Let's go to the actual text messages to see if what Pastor Dowell portrayed falls in alignment with the actual text messages he mentioned. What you see on your screen is a snapshot of my AT&T online call log for my cell phone. For the sake of confidentiality, I crossed out the 7-digit portion of the number. The first column, or should I say the first two columns, are the date and time, and to the far right is the length of each call, which are the actual minutes. The number listed is Michael Israel's phone number. Starting at the top row is the initial call I made to Michael Israel on September 1st, 2019 at 9:03 p.m. Michael Israel told me that Pastor Dowell would like to have a debate with me in regards to polygamy. My response, I want to hear directly from Dowell. Michael Israel said to me, he'll call me back, and which he did. He called me back at 9:09 p.m. with Elder Rufus on the call. My response, no disrespect to the elder, but I am a pastor, and Pastor Dowell should be able to speak for himself, pastor to pastor. He should be able to speak to me directly. The elder stated that he speaks for Pastor Dowell, and his tone was very disrespectful. And so I hung up on them and called Michael Israel back at 9:43 p.m. and reiterated to Michael Israel that I want to hear directly from Pastor Dowell. If not, the answer is no. So at 9:55 p.m. the same night, Michael Israel called me back with Pastor Dowell. Our discussion lasted for 12 minutes. We discussed the location which Dowell expressed his concern about home court advantage for me if we held the debate in Virginia. However, we did not set any dates. We were looking to have the debate at the beginning of the new year. In our three-way discussion, I reiterated that I didn't want to label this as a debate, but as a discussion because of the negative connotation that comes with the word debate. I made it clear in our discussion that I did not want us to speak for extended blocks of time, and that I wanted us to be able to engage each other directly in the form of a discussion. In the end, we agreed to remain completely silent and table the planning for this event until after the holy days. Needless to say, Dowell broke that agreement. On September 2nd, 2019, I sent Michael Israel the following text message. After giving it some thought and watching this video again and listening to the jabs yesterday, call it a debate. I'll travel to where he is. I'd rather do it in a place that would allow all of Strait Way, which includes the women, to be there. I'm bringing 5 smooth stones. No more talk. On September 6, 2019, I sent another follow-up text message to Michael Israel wanting to solidify a date and location close to Strait Way. I called you this morning, but you were doing your live. Nevertheless, let's solidify a date and location close to Strait Way. Now, does this sound like someone who's trying to avoid a debate? Does this sound like someone who is backing down from Dowell? Michael Israel stated, okay, I will set it up. So my question to everyone that's watching this presentation, is it a coincidence that every derogative video from Dowell and Michael were made after September 2nd, 2019, and more specifically after September 6th, 2019? Is it a coincidence that you did not hear a peep from Dowell when I made the initial post on August 21st, 2019 on Facebook? For almost 2 weeks, they did not say a single word until after I made it clear that I wanted to bring the discussion to his territory, because he expressed on our call that he did not want to come to Virginia due to me having home court advantage. For 4 days, Dowell and Michael went into complete spin mode to give this impression that I was ducking them. They went into complete spin mode to give this illusion that Pastor Dowell is trying to search me down to have a discussion, when our discussion began on a 3-way conference call on September 1st. So on September 10th, 2019, I decided to pump the brakes on the debate due to them bringing my wife into the discussion. I was still going to have the debate even after the name calling towards me, but they completely went overboard once they brought my wife into the discussion. And so I sent Michael Israel the following message. I'm really disappointed at what's been getting back to me. The layers of disrespectful things said not only about me, but comments about my wife. Nevertheless, I'm not mad, but very disappointed. I never ran, nor have I ever ducked from anyone. The previous text messages says differently. I have been more than respectful to you and to your family. This discussion is supposedly be based on giving clarity. Why the negativity leading up to it? Regardless of the shenanigans, you're still my brother, and I'm grateful for the hospitality of your family towards me a year ago. In July 2019, while I was in Jacksonville, Florida, on company business, Michael Israel and his wife invited me over for dinner, in which they displayed impeccable hospitality. This is why I made an assertive effort to keep things at a respectable level on my end. Michael Israel responded on September 10th, 2019. This is what he says. Are you going to do the debate? My response, initially, I said I would, but then the negative comments and the name calling began to come out. Condition, or should I say conditional. Only if you guys publicly retract the nasty comments, retract what was said about my wife and bringing her into the discussion. If you cannot do that, then absolutely no.
An FBI report from August has recently been discovered identifying Black identity extremists as a terrorist threat. Now, I read through this report and it reads that the FBI assesses it is very likely Black identity extremist, or BIE, perceptions of police brutality against African Americans spurred an increase in premeditated, retaliatory, lethal violence against law enforcement and will very likely serve as justification for such violence. The FBI assess it is very likely this increase began following the August 9th, 2014 shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, and the FBI assesses it is very likely incidents of alleged police abuse against African Americans since then have continued to feed the resurgence in ideologically motivated violent criminal activity within the BIE movement.
Black identity extremists, now considered a domestic terror threat by the FBI. The Bureau releasing an explosive new report claiming police officers are being targeted by people who perceive racial injustices. The FBI says the 2014 shooting death of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, spawned the threat against cops. Brown's death also sparking violent riots across the country.
FBI agents arrested Christopher Daniels in his home. The agents took Daniels' firearms and his copy of Negro with Guns by Robert F. Williams. Many speculate that he was arrested because of his political beliefs. People are also raising questions about the recent murder of Black Lives Matter activist Muhayyin Moye in New Orleans. Moye gained national fame when he grabbed a Confederate flag at a South Carolina protest last year. An FBI report leaked in the fall shows that the FBI is targeting so-called Black identity extremists.
Barrett 50 cal.
I have a top secret security clearance. I am a government contractor. I work for myself. My livelihood is connected to everything I do. This is why I block a number of people. Let me give clarity about the top secret security clearance. And being a government contractor, I have my own business in which I have been awarded a contract in which there's certain requirements I have to meet and maintain. Many things can cause a clearance to be revoked, such as who you're associated with, which includes social media sites such as Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and etc. I have no problem blocking anyone who cannot respect me or are displaying very questionable actions such as Dowell and Michael Israel. Pastor Dowell, Michael Israel, and others went way over the top in their videos with the name calling. When it's all said and done, I have to provide for my family. I'm not losing my livelihood for this type of ignorance. There's a number of more important issues that's worth me sacrificing my livelihood for. But being connected to these guys and others like them is not on the list. So I went on to say this in the text message. Again, retract the name calling, an actual public apology for bringing my wife into the discussion, and the so-called threat of shutting her down should she say anything.
And bring your elder wife up in there. Bring her, and I hope that she don't get out of pocket too. Because she get out of pocket, I'm gonna show y'all how to put her in pocket, and I'm gonna put you in pocket too.
That was completely disrespectful and very disturbing on a number of levels. Once that's done, we can talk about having the debate. Question: how would you feel if someone said the same comments about your wife and family? You're from Newark. You know what would be said about this type of behavior. Where I'm from, in the streets, Pastor Dowell would be called a coward. he would be called a punk. He would be called a lowlife. Dowell and Michael would be called a P. Diddy. So if the streets would not condone Dowell and Michael's actions, why would some of the people of Yah actually believe this is okay? So on Wednesday, September 11th, 2019, Michael Israel responded, "When do you want to come on the show to end this matter?" My response: after our discussion a week ago on three-way conference call should have ended there, as we agreed to reconvene after the high holy days to come up with dates. I was completely silent, and yet videos being made and messages like these were being sent. I included your name to show proof that I was not ducking Pastor Dowell. Now on your screen you see I was ducking Pastor Dowell, but I'm going to show you shortly here that I corrected that statement with Michael Israel. Here's one of the many disrespectful, ugly messages I received from Dowell's followers. I sent this message to Michael Israel, which Dowell made it clear that he has all the messages, which means he knows this disrespectful guy as well as the others and purposely encourage their disrespectful behavior towards me. These are the messages from a guy by the name of Patriarch Rule. Shalom. Pastor Dowell is waiting for you to contact him about the debate, sir. You need to man up. Quit blocking everybody from Strait Way. Take this bleep whipping like a man. You started this thing, now you want to run and hide like a bleep? Contact my pastor and let's get this debate set up so all the world can see and hear the truth. You got one foot in Israel and the other in Christianity. We call somebody like you Christian lights. Quit hiding behind your wife's skirt. There's too much of that going on nowadays. Do we really believe that Hamashiach approve of this type of behavior? Do we actually think that Yahweh condones this nonsense? Do we really believe this? To come up with terms like Christian lights, Christian Hebrews? If I wanted to, I can take this same approach with the behaviors that I see from Dowell, Israel, or Michael rather, and others that's behaving this way. If I want to, I can refer to you guys as Mormon lights. I can refer to you guys as Amish Hebrews. I can refer to you guys with these different connotations, but will that solve the problem? I refuse to stoop to the levels of ignorance, the levels of disrespect that these guys have put on display. So I went on to say to Michael Israel in the next text message, I was disappointed in your live earlier, suggesting that I was the center of the drama with Majors, Ugo, Tony Poe, and etc. When you told me yourself that the issue was not about me. Now here's the message right here that I sent to Michael Israel in regards to the error that I noticed in the text message that I sent. Many of you that have communicated with me recognize this format here, because whenever I make an error, I always correct myself this way. Error. I included your name to show proof that I was ducking. Correction. I included your name to show proof that I wasn't ducking. So I want to make this clear. I corrected this with Michael Israel. So this is a glimpse why I decided to end the debate. Michael Israel's behavior made it clear that he's a terrible moderator and will do anything to promote discourse for the sake of building his YouTube channel. Initially, he was connected to James 1:1 by way of Boom. From there, Hebrew Nations, and from Hebrew Nations to Ron Dalton, Hebrews to Negroes, and now to Pastor Dowell. Here's the disrespectful image Michael Israel posted on my Facebook timeline as well as my Instagram timeline. As I stated before, Pastor Dowell did not want to have a debate because he knew it wasn't going to be good for him. It made him nervous when I made it clear to him that I would come to Strait Way by myself and that I don't need an entourage to accompany me. Pastor Dowell's behavior is clearly that of a narcissist sociopath. Notice his behavior before and after I decided to remove myself from the debate. Take a look at these videos.
Guerrilla charges are mostly bluff. At the last moment, the silverback usually will veer off before making contact, and no one gets hurt.
John Calvin ain't even got a book in the scriptures. And you ask me what I think about John Calvin. John Calvin, as far as I'm concerned, to hell with him. He don't mean shit to me. Not a damn thing. And then I found out the other day that he said his wife was an elder. Can y'all imagine that? A woman elder. A woman elder. You can't make this stuff up. Game over. And you know what? It's game over for you, Richardson Kelly. And bring your elder wife up in there. Bring her, and I hope that she don't get out of pocket too. Because she get out of pocket, I'm going to show y'all how to put her in pocket. And I'm going to put you in pocket too. And they are associating with some of our people, which y'all know just like us at Strait Way. Listen, we don't have no beef with anyone. But you can't come over with pretense and you can't come over with falsehoods and expect us to be able to just be turning cartwheels and accepting you.
The question is, who is Dowell? Who is this Hebrew to Negroes Man of the Year? And I want to make it clear, I didn't vote for him. Let's start with understanding a narcissist. What is a narcissist? Narcissists have a prominent place in popular imagination, and the label narcissism is widely referred to people who appear too full of themselves. There's also a growing sense of narcissism is on the rise around the world, especially among young people, but psychological research does not support that notion. This dysfunction typically causes friction in relationships due to the pathological narcissist's lack of empathy. It may also manifest as antagonism, fueled by grandiosity and attention seeking, and seeing themselves as superior. The pathological narcissist naturally views everyone as inferior. Here's several ways a narcissistic person takes advantage of others. Let me give you a few points in identifying a narcissist. Number 1, grandiose but brittle. Narcissists often present a larger-than-life persona. They posture as more capable, accomplished, and intelligent than others. They feel entitled to special treatment, commensurate with their status. Yet narcissists can be hypersensitive, exploding at the smallest perceived slight. When they don't get their way or not the center of attention, they may lash out or regress to a sulking childlike state. Number 2, antagonistic, yet indignant at questions or opposition, as we see on full display in Pastor Dowell's videos. See, many narcissists seem to take pleasure in saying no to others' requests or needs. They often need an enemy or foil, often pursuing legal actions, revenge, or vendettas. Yet, should anyone question or oppose them, narcissists are quick to go nuclear. They distract, play the martyr, or personally attack anyone who challenges them. Number 3, they are desperate to be heard, yet uninterested in listening. Because narcissists cannot supply the self-esteem they need from within, they hungrily seek it from outside in the form of attention. The joke, enough about me, but what do you think of me, aptly describes a narcissist. Because they are so desperate for attention, narcissists may listen impatiently to others, counting the seconds until they can bring the conversation back to them. They may even compete with loved ones for the spotlight, as if attention paid to someone else is their personal loss. Number 5, swift blame, yet loath to own their part. See, people with narcissistic behaviors pass the blame with lightning-like reflexes. If they fail, it is always someone else's fault. Though when they succeed, it's entirely their doing. Number 6, a narcissist is very image conscious, yet woefully self-unaware. People with narcissism seek status through external means such as power, wealth, sexual conquest, as we see displayed among Pastor Dowell, Michael Israel, and others that push and support polygamy. Appearances and who they know. They seek to be with the right people and are contemptuous of those they see as inferior. Yet, narcissists are deeply myopic about their superficiality. Their sense of entitlement leaves them expecting worship, admiration, respect, unaware that respect must be earned and admiration is based on character as well as accomplishment. Lastly, demanding of absolute loyalty. I'll say this again. A narcissist, like Pastor Dowell and others, they are demanding of absolute loyalty, yet quick to betray others. Narcissists fear abandonment, humiliation. They fear betrayal. Because of this, they demand and repeatedly test others' loyalty. Yet narcissists will sell nearly anyone down the river with the little thought or remorse.
Somebody going to get hold of this Richardson Kelly because it looks like that he's banning and blocking everybody from Strait Way, which I'm going to address that in that debate too.
He's convinced himself that he is some sort of superhuman martyr.
Jones persuaded nearly 1,000 followers to move to a remote jungle in Guyana.
David Koresh, a self-proclaimed son of God.
There's a madman living in Waco.
He was incredibly charismatic.
I waited patiently on the Lord.
He was spellbinding.
He was a god in the human flesh.
They would do anything for this man.
Even unholy acts.
Once you have power, you think of ways you can use your power. And Jim Jones was never at a loss of how he could use his power.
He started to alienate you from your families, from your immediate families, destroy that family unit.
What is a cult? Let's go to the Oxford Dictionary to see how it defines this word. It says, cult, which is a noun, a system of religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or object. Sub-entry number 1 says, a relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or as imposing excessive control over members. Entry number 2 says, a misplaced or excessive admiration for a particular thing. The American Heritage College Dictionary, the 3rd edition, definition of a cult says this. The definition of a cult is a group of people with extreme dedication to a certain leader or set of beliefs that are often viewed as odd by others, or is an excessive and misplaced admiration for someone or something, or is something that is popular among a certain segment of society. Let me highlight a few things you need to know about the psychology of cults. See, cults maintain their power by promoting this us against them mentality. Cults can be powerful because they are able to successfully isolate members from their former non-cult lives. One of the ways cult leaders achieve this is to convince their followers that they are superior to those not in their cult.
And that's why that we need people like Pastor Dowell and other strong Hebrew Israelites that's going to set the record straight and not allow these newly converted Christians coming over and think that they know something and try to mess up our whole entire culture. And I just happen to be one of the, if I can use this word and be pure, one of the icons in the Hebrew Israelite movement. You can tell the men in the real true Israelites, we totally different. Our cadence is totally different than these people. There's a standard here. And the Bible even talks about you wearing the apparel of strange nations. And how that you are going to be judged for stuff like that. So you got these people come over unconverted, trying to pass themselves off as our people when they ain't our people. And Pastor Dowell and the rest of the elders in Strait Way ain't gonna let it slide.
See, this us against them mentality ultimately leads to cult members isolating themselves socially from family and friends. They replace those relationships with new ones inside the cult. Cult leaders are masters at mind control. Cult leaders convince their victims to separate themselves from society, give up personal possessions, and sometimes huge sums of money.
And laid them down at the apostles' feet.
They laid them at the what?
Apostles' feet.
The apostles' feet. What? You got to lay it down at the man of y'all's feet?
Yes.
Yes.
Amen. Wow.
Make them accountable. Yesterday I received a check, 2 days ago I received a check in the mail for $54,000. Somebody say $54,000. $54,000. Anybody use $54,000? And you know what happened? There's a sister, an old mother, lives in North Carolina. Been coming to the ministry for years. She put our house up for sale. Got the equity out of it, paid a few bills what she needed to do, and gave the rest of them and said, I'm laying at your feet, man, y'all.
They convince people to buy into whatever they are promoting. To do this, a cult leader must be a master at mind control. There are several ways in which leaders gain control over cult members. Some of the popular methods includes public humiliation. See, new cult members may be love bombed shortly after their arrival, but after they are established members, cult leaders often maintain emotional control through various exercises meant to publicly humiliate a member. One of such methods involves someone sitting in a chair surrounded by other members, at which time they are required to admit their recent failures, base thoughts, shortcomings, and etc. Another popular method is self-incrimination. A favorite tactic of the infamous cult leader Jim Jones, self-incrimination, which requires cult members to provide their leader with written statements detailing their individual fears and mistakes. The cult leader can then use these statements to shame individual members publicly. The next thing I want to highlight is brainwashing. Cult leaders are known to repeat various lies and distortions until members find it difficult to distinguish between reality and cult life. Lastly, paranoia. To maintain a false sense of comfort, cults often rely on paranoia tactics. Cult leaders convince their victims that a group, their families, and or the government is out to get them, but that the cult can provide safety. Once a cult member comes to the conclusion that their families, their friends, the country cannot keep them safe, they begin to worship and put all of their faith in their cult leader. Jim Jones was especially gifted at this mind control trick. He would encourage members to spy on each other and consistently spoke through loudspeakers at all hours of the day so that cult members would hear his voice whether awake or asleep. Hamashiach warned his disciples about cults. Matthew 24, verse 23 through 26 says, "Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Hamashiach, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Hamashiachs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect." And that very elect is Israel. "Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he, Mashiach, which transliterates to the Christ, is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he, Hamashiach, is in the secret chambers, believe it not."
Koresh called his compound the Ranch Apocalypse.
It was a 77-acre compound.
The men lived on the ground floor, the women on the second floor, with David Koresh's bedroom up there too. There was a gymnasium, there was a chapel, a large kitchen, and there was a shelter, a buried school bus where they could go to in an emergency.
River valleys for the great apocalypse, because I've got a cavern deep, deep in the mountains that can take care of every one of you. No fallout can get to you. No radiation can get to you.
I've got some land over there with a black president. I'm sending my people there little by little.
It took 24 hours over the ocean and another 9 hours up this river, and then you go another 2 hours on a flatbed truck.
Desert in Hebrew is Madabar. Hamashiach warned about the state of what this world would become. He foretold the wars, the diseases, deception, the wickedness, and etc. He warned his disciples about the many false Christs that will solicit salvation through isolation. They will use the need and desire for security to promote their compounds as the answer in combating the current state of this world. Security is the number one way to generate money. Fear, which works hand in hand with security, is the number one way, the number one method, the number one approach to generate money. For example, the Y2K bug, which nothing happened. Let's deal with the suppressive word master.
He revealed to us one day that all of the women were going to be his wives if he wanted them.
The marriages are dissolved, and David Koresh is going to have all the women sexually. He called it the House of David. So yeah, to be a member of the House of David was a privilege.
Being in the House of David, you were sleeping with him.
It was for a purpose. He said he was God and that he carried God's seed and you could have God's child. And then in the end, you kind of fall in love with him.
You will never see any of my shies on here trading words with a man. You know why? Because there's an order to things. They ain't got time for that mess anyway. They too busy being set apart and being holy and taking care of their master.
What your fruit that you're bearing, like it was just, my mind was just so messed up. And I was telling my master, I actually had a dream. So after it was brought to my attention that my master was interested in me, it didn't register in my mind until like...
Everybody knew at Strait Way that I was looking for a virgin. And what Yah was doing with me was, and the one that was looking right before her, she was a virgin, but I will say this much, she had a hard time being accepting the fact that she was gonna be submitted to me, if that's a lack of a better word. I'll give you an example. You know, and this is just a test. But I remember saying, if I told you to go hug a tree, would you go hug a tree? And I don't even know how I came up with that test. She said, well, why do I have to hug a tree? That just seems so demeaning.
Bark like a dog. A big dog.
Woof, 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 woof.
Hop on one leg.
Woof, 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 woof.
Make a noise like an orangutan.
Ah! I see the two of you are getting along.
On the entrance, as my master said, he wanted to come out first.
I was married for 16 years to a woman that I met in college. We had 8 children, 7 boys, 1 girl. I've only knew of my 7 children. I never met my last child, and I still have not met my last son. When I started looking, and I was looking for a virgin at that time. To be honest, I made it very known that I was looking for a virgin. I wanted to be with a virgin because I just thought that I can make this woman my own and create her into my own image. Everybody knows that my goal is to have 94 children. If you don't know that now, you know. Listen to this: how many people came to the wedding of your family? 0. Wow. But your real family. But listen to this. She goes, I'm her master and she's my property.
I'm shocked that any man would want their wife to refer to himself as master, especially if you are a descendant of slaves. Did Sarah actually refer to Abraham as a type of Christ by using the word that's transliterated into master or Lord? 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 5 through 7 says this: For after this manner in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in Elohim adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husband, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, which transliterates from Adonai or Adonai Yah, whose daughters ye are as long as ye do well and are not afraid with any amazement. Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge. Give honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. This is referring to physical stature. We know naturally that the man is quite naturally stronger than the woman. So it says, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. Why is Pastor Dowell pushing for the women on his compound to refer to their husband as master? Why have he deceptively honed in on the word master? As long as Israel continued to mistreat our women, our prayers will not be answered. If the husbands continue to mistreat their wives, your prayers will be hindered. Your prayers will be hindered. The Hebrew word for master is Adonaiah. Some will say Adonai, which is also used as a salutation of respect, interchangeably with Mr. or Sir. Let's go to the Greek definition of master. Let's see what it says. The Greek word is kurios, which means, and I'm just going to highlight what's in red, by implication, Mr., as a respectful title. And we see Sir. Let's go to the Hebrew definition of this word. It says, meaning to rule. An example, we see Lord, Master, Owner. But then when you go down to entry number 1, you see reference to men. In other words, in regards to men. Superintendent of household, of affairs. Let's go to the etymology of the word master. It says, a man having control or authority, a teacher or tutor. The verb of this word says to get the better of, prevail against, reduce to subjugation. Remember, a verb describes the actions of a noun. So the actions of this noun, master, is to get the better of someone. In this case of Strait Way and others that are pushing this suppressive term, in this case, they're women. Their actions is to completely reduce their women to subjugation, which means control. Let's go to the Hebrew word masah. Let's see what it says. A burden, an utterance, chiefly a doom, burden, carry away. The Hebrew word masah comes from the primitive root word nasa, which means test, tempt, prove. Masah is a corruption of the primitive root word masha. Both words use the same ancient letters, but it's the mark, nikud or naquad, of man that altered masha, which means to draw out of water, to the word masah, which means to burden, to oppress. Also understand, Masha is the actual name of Moses. Masha is actually part of the word Mashayak. It is the primitive root word. So these people want the title of master, but are actually wearing the anti-title of Masah, to further prove that the word Adonai or Adonaiah is a title of honor interchangeably used or transliterated with the word sir when it pertains to a man. Rebecca referred to Abraham's servant as Lord, as Adonai or Adonaiah. Let's go to Genesis chapter 24, verse 17 and 18. It says, the servant ran to meet her and said, let me, I pray thee, drink a little water of thy pitcher. And she said, drink, my lord. In other words, Adonai or Adonaiah. And she hasted and let down her pitcher upon her hand and gave him drink. At this point, Rebekah did not know who this man was. Due to his respectful approach, she referred to Abraham's servant as Adonai. Is Rebekah referring to Abraham's servant as Hamashiach? Let's go to another example. 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 15, which we see Hannah refer to Eli, the high priest, as Adonai or Adonaiah. It reads, and Hannah answered and said, no, my lord, Adonai, I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before Yahweh. Is Hannah referring to Eli, the high priest, as Hamashiach?
And then I found out the other day that he said his wife was an elder. Can y'all imagine that? A woman elder. A woman elder. You can't make this stuff up. These people are pagan, masquerading Hebrew Israelites, Christians. That's what they are.
Can a woman be a leader and a teacher over men? Can a woman have authority over a man in leadership? 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 12 and 13 are common verses most men who teach the Dabar HaKodash, which is the holy word in ancient Hebrew, use to suppress the women. It says, let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve. What does Paul mean when he says, but I suffer? In other words, permit not. Before I answer this question, I want to make this clear. This letter is a direct letter Paul wrote and sent to Timothy. This is not a book. This is, again, a letter. So in this letter, Paul is giving Timothy his personal advice in how to facilitate the assembly of Ephesus due to these Roman territories being heavily influenced by Aphrodite's temple prostitutes. In the same chapter, Apostle Paul also says a woman is not to braid her hair. Is this a law Apostle Paul is quoting, or is this Apostle Paul's personal recommendation from one leader to another? 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 9 says this, in like manner also that women adorn themselves in modest apparel with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broided hair or gold or pearls or costly array. Again, can a woman be a leader and a teacher over men? Let's go to a prominent female leader who played a major role in the history of the Hebrew Israelites, the prophetess and judge Deborah. Judges chapter 4, verses 4 and 5 says this, and Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, she judged Israel at that time, and she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel and Mount Ephraim, and the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. Let's deal with the Hebrew definition of Deborah. We see here, it tells us that that's the name of 2 Hebrew women. The Hebrew word dabar gives a clear understanding of Deborah's authority over all of Israel, both the men and women. The Hebrew definition of the word dabar, it means to speak, answer, appoint, bid, command, declare, promise, pronounce, teach. So, what's the criteria of an elder? What's the criteria of a judge? Who gave Moses the idea to appoint judges? That advice came from his father-in-law, Jethro. Exodus chapter 18, verse 24 through 27 says this. So Moses hearkened to the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he had said. And Moses chose able men out of all of Israel and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. And they judged the people at all seasons. The hard causes they brought unto Moses, but every small matter they judged themselves. And Moses let his father-in-law depart, and he went his way into his own land. To fully understand Deborah's responsibility as a prophet, let's go to the Oxford Dictionary and see what it says. Prophet, which is a noun, a person regarded as an inspired teacher or proclaimer of the will of God. Now let's go to the Etymology Dictionary and let's see what it says. It says here, person who speaks for God. It goes on to say, an interpreter, spokesman, inspired preacher, or teacher. See, Deborah was a prominent female leader in her time. She was the leader over all of Israel and not just the women. She was the mouthpiece of Yahweh during her time. Deborah was the direct spokesman of Yah, who also was a great military strategist and a judge over all of Israel. Deborah was above the Levitical priests in terms of hearing directly from Yah. Also to note, the Levites were dispersed to 48 cities throughout the Promised Land. This means that she had authority above the Levites because she spoke directly to Yah for all of Israel. How was she able to carry out her duties as a leader over all of Israel and still fulfill her responsibilities of a wife to her husband? Another key title Deborah had is the Mother of Israel. This is the title of a matriarch. Understand, this title is not equivalent to that of a church mother or mother of the church. This is a title synonymous to the father of Israel. Abraham was not only the father of Israel, he was a patriarch. This is one of the highest designations in Scripture. It indicates authority. Yahweh used Deborah to lead Israel out of captivity. Deborah was the Harriet Tubman before Harriet Tubman existed. Key point: Yahweh continuously raised up a deliverer to lead Israel out of captivity. Judges chapter 2 verse 13 through 16 says this: and they forsook Yahweh and served Baal and Ashtaroth, and the anger of Yahweh was hot against Israel, and he delivered them into the hands of spoilers that spoiled them, and he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so that they could not any longer stand before their enemies. Whithersoever they went out, the hand of Yahweh was against them for evil, and as Yahweh had sworn unto them, and they were greatly distressed. Nevertheless, Yahweh raised up judges, Shaphat Yam, which delivered them out of the hand of those that spoiled them. Let's also confirm this with Judges chapter 3, verse 7 through 10. It says this: "And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of Yahweh, and forgot Yahweh Elohim, and served Baalim and the groves, which is Asherah. Therefore the anger of Yahweh was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of Cushan-Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia. And the children of Israel served Cushan-Rishathaim 8 years. And when the children of Israel cried unto Yahweh, Yahweh raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel, who delivered them, even Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. And the Rawak Yahweh came upon him, and he judged Israel and went out to war. And Yahweh delivered Cushan-Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia, into his hand, and his hand prevailed against Cushan-Rishathaim." Let's also go to Judges chapter 3, verse 14 and 15. "So the children of Israel served Eglon, the king of Moab, 18 years. But when the children of Israel cried unto Yahweh, Yahweh raised them up a deliverer, Ehud, the son of Gera, a Benjamite, a man left-handed, and by him the children of Israel sent a present unto Eglon, the king of Moab." Which brings us back to Judges chapter 4, verse 1 through 3, which reads, "And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of Yahweh, when Ehud was dead, and Yahweh sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, that reigned in Hazar, the captain of whose host was Sisera, which dwelt in Harosheth of the Gentiles. And the children of Israel cried unto Yahweh, for he had 900 chariots of iron. In 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel." Now I want you to understand, Moses, Joshua, Deborah, Gideon, Samuel, King David, King Solomon functioned as both prophet and judge over all of Israel. What is a deliverer? Let's go to the Hebrew definition of deliverer. Yasha. It means to be open, free, to be safe, avenging, defend, deliver, deliverer, help, preserve, rescue, be safe, bringing salvation, having salvation, save, savior, get victory. In the end, Deborah proved that a woman can lead, teach, and maintain a respectable marriage to her own husband. So again, can a woman teach in the temple? More specifically now, can a single woman teach in the temple? Can a single woman teach men in the temple? Anna, the faithful prophetess debunks and answers these questions. Luke chapter 2, verse 36 through 38 says this. And there was one Anna, a prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel, of the tribe of Asher. She was of a great age and had lived with an husband 7 years from her virginity. And she was a widow of about 84 years, which departed not from the temple. Let me read that part again. Which departed not from the temple, which means she lived in the temple. She dwelt in the temple, but served Yahweh Elohim with fastings and prayers night and day. And she, coming in that instant, gave thanks likewise unto Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, and spake of him to all them that look for redemption in Jerusalem. Now, what does this say about Anna? She was one of the first to teach and recognize who HaMashiach is. And the scripture says, and spake of him to all them that look for redemption in Jerusalem. It made it perfectly clear. She dwelt in the temple, and anyone that came to Jerusalem, in other words, whether it's honoring the feast days, making their pilgrimage, and they're seeking redemption, she taught HaMashiach. Where? In the temple where she dwelled. Case closed.
We both got hot, now check it. I got more Mac than Craig.
In the early 1980s, brother R.G. Stair and his wife came to Walterboro, South Carolina with only a couple $100 and a whole lot of faith.
Craig Mack's health started to fail and he disappeared, only to resurface in 2012 at an alleged South Carolina cult called the Overcomer Ministry. Take a look.
My name is Craig Mack.
And what did you used to do when you was in the world?
Wickedness.
Okay. And what are you doing now?
Righteousness.
Whoa, hallelujah.
The preacher of that ministry is Ralph Gordon Stair. Stair is now in jail, accused of sexually assaulting multiple women and children in his congregation. Today, a DailyMail.com investigation exposes what really happened inside the Overcomer Ministry and the new questions raised about Craig Mack's death. Brandy Williams is back now with more of the exclusive details. So Brandy, what can you tell us about Ralph Gordon Stair?
So Jesse, he's 84 years old, a self-proclaimed prophet, and allegedly a serial sexual assaulter, rapist, and pedophile. He reportedly took the virginity of many young teenage girls and infected them with STDs. He even reportedly instructed one girl on how to induce a miscarriage when she feared that she was pregnant with his child. He is accused of manipulating his followers and defrauding some members out of their life savings to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. He was arrested back in December after a YouTube video showed the preacher touching and cupping a 12-year-old girl's breasts during a worship service.
Is Pastor Dowell connected to the very leader who scammed Craig Mack? Is he using the same hustle, the same approach of this madman? Let's start with this interesting article titled Update, Arrest of Brother Ralph Stair Confirmed on Multiple Charges. News, The Press, and Standard. Colleton County Sheriff's Office personnel arrived at the Overcomer Ministry at 12680 Augusta Highway early Monday morning to take Ralph G. Stair, the leader of the religious compound, into custody on 8 criminal charges. The charges, all filed by the sheriff's office investigators, include
3 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, 6 counts of assault with the intent to commit criminal sexual conduct, kidnapping, second-degree assault, first-degree burglary, third-degree criminal sexual conduct with a minor. As you have seen early in this video, Pastor Dowell, Michael Israel, and others have made an assertive effort to label me and others Christian lights, Christian Hebrews, which prompted me to research and see who was Pastor Dowell's mentor. Almost every teacher within the Hebrew Israelite community is very transparent in sharing the ministry they were part of, with the exception of Pastor Dowell. As I began to research, I came across this article by way of this particular comment that came up through Google search result. This comment is by someone by the name of Paul. Stair is getting what he deserves. Now, reporters need to turn their attention to Pastor Charles Dowell of Lafayette, Tennessee. He runs the heavily armed Strait Way commune outside of town. This man was a protege of Stair, who branched out to start his own cult. He is a serial physical abuser of children and animals, and possibly a sexual predator who has a harem of wives that he basically treats like slaves. I grew up around these men, and I can tell you, they destroy lives. What's interesting about technology is that it will leave a trail of breadcrumbs. I noticed when I would do a search on the entry Pastor Dowell, it will return a number of entries in the search engine regarding scams. What is unusual is each result will bring up members of Strait Way using titles such as "I was scammed by Dowell." When you click on the video, they would actually give a positive testimony in Dowell's regard. Immediately, I knew the agenda behind it. It starts with understanding algorithms. Being a programmer, it's very easy to identify and expose the true intent of these videos. The more they flood YouTube with these type of videos, it will push whatever's old to the bottom of the search results. I decided to do a search for the connection between R.G. Stair and Pastor Dowell. I came across the netteam.net, which contains a number of complaints about Pastor Dowell and others. I've included the links in the description for your review. 2 entries caught my attention. First, by Steve L. from Michigan. Dowell tried to take a concubine, a 14 or 15-year-old girl, as his third wife this past year. She has 2 other sisters, one older and younger. The mother left with the girls. The husband is still there at the Lafayette compound. Dowell marrying off the young women is a money-making business transaction. Last I heard, a wife through Dowell's ministry will cost upward of a $150,000 dowry to Dowell from the prospective groom looking for a wife. These are very troubling and disturbing accusations. What gives this website validity is Pastor Dowell actually made a post on it attempting to defend himself in response to other posted accusations. If this is true in terms of the selling of brides, this can lead to potential legal action, and if any of these transactions occurred across state lines, then the potential legal actions will go to the federal level. The second entry reads, and this coming from someone by the name of Brother Mike, he told us that God told him to start this community. But in his interview, he said R.G. Stair, his mentor, last day prophet, told him to start the community. I continued and found out more about this and read the testimonies and the similarities of these two and many of the other communities that was started under Stair were too much. So when my husband came home, I showed him what I found. He took a look at it and didn't really say anything because they were telling him I had the spirit of Jezebel and that he has to try harder to fight it. After seeing this post stating that R.G. Stair was Pastor Dowell's mentor, it prompted me to search for the actual interview. Little did I know this is the same cult Craig Mack joined before he died. I was able to locate the actual online transcript of the interview. I read over the interview and it read as if some of the texts were removed. And so I decided to search for the original site through an internet archive site called Wayback Machine. This keeps a snapshot of every site online. So I was able to go back to the original post, which was made on September 26, 2000, 11:57. I posted the link in the description box for your review, and you will see R.G. Stair was Pastor Dowell's mentor. Strait Way was a daughter ministry under the Overcomer community. Everything you see in Strait Way came through the influence of R.G. Stair. On Pastor Dowell's website, he refers to R.G. Stair as a false prophet. But it's well after the lasting imprint he left on Strait Way. So for the sake of time, I am only going to read a few quotes. I encourage you to read the entire transcript. Let's do a comparison between the interview on the current webpage and the comments from the original transcript from the cached webpage. As I do the comparison, remember Matthew chapter 7, verse 17 and 18 says, "Even so every good tree bring forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit." So let's do a comparison of Jim Searcy's initial comments. We have some strong men of God who join us on the GJIGT Pal Talk groups, with the saints scattered abroad at various times of the day and night, 7 days per week. On the line with us, we have one of these men of God, Pastor Charles Dowell from Strait Way Community in Nashville, Tennessee. Pastor Dowell, we might say, holds the record for bringing a community of people of like-minded faith together in record time. We welcome you, Pastor Dowell. Now let's do a comparison of Jim Searcy's initial comments from the original transcript. We rebroadcast from the satellite the Overcomer broadcast ministry of Brother R.G. Stair, 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. On the line with us, we have one of the Overcomer community leaders, Pastor Charles Dowell, from Strait Way community in Nashville, Tennessee. Pastor Dowell, we might say, holds the record for bringing a community of people of like-minded faith together in record time. We welcome you, Pastor Dowell. Now, let's do a comparison of Charles Dowell's second response. Keep in mind, everywhere you see the word prophet, Pastor Dowell is referring to R.G. Stair. Let's go to Charles Dowell's second response in this transcript. Sure I can, brother. You know, the Bible teaches us that if you receive the prophet or righteous man, you receive the prophet's reward. God has given oversight, spiritual oversight, to the men he calls and anoints. And the recognition of the call and anointing of God is vital to any community of faith. Men of God are anointed of God with wisdom to have spiritual oversight. What that means is that such men of God may determine, with the gift of spiritual discernment that he has, determines who to move onto the land and who not to allow to move onto the land. People are constantly looking to get into community lifestyle. Now let's do a comparison of what we just read with the original transcript. Here's Charles Dowell's second response from the original transcript. Sure I can, brother. You know, the Bible teaches us that if you receive the prophet, you receive the prophet's reward. The prophet's reward is revelation truth. Beyond that, the blessing that the prophet has will come down upon those who are walking together with him. That prophet of the Lord at this time is Brother R.G. He is the voice of the last day prophets of God. Prophet Stair has oversight, spiritual oversight over this community. Brother Stair will tell you that he does not try to come to the communities or run them, but he does take the spiritual oversight of them. What that means is that he determines, with the gift of spiritual discernment that he has, he determines who to move onto the land and who not to allow to move onto the land. He has such an outreach that people are constantly looking to get into community lifestyle. Prophet Stair is definitely God's man and an anointed man of God for the last days time frame in which we live. We are blessed of the Lord to have such an anointed man of God to take the spiritual oversight of our community. Let me give you an example. When we first started this community, I was told the prophet that I would like to go and get some mobile homes from the local mobile home dealer. Nevertheless, let's do a comparison of Charles Dowell's eighth response. Let's see what that eighth response says. Highly anointed men of God will strengthen the hand of the pastors or leaders of the community. Men of God will recognize God-ordained positional authority. He will always give spiritual insight and strengthen the hands of the pastors. Many people have problems submitting to someone in spiritual authority. It must be a sign of the times. The difficulty in submission and strength of self-will is amazing. People have difficulty submitting to someone in spiritual authority over them. It is difficult for most to humble themselves and submit to even God ordained spiritual authority. Now let's go to the original transcript of this 8th response of Charles Dowell. The prophet is such a highly anointed man of God. The one thing that the prophet does is that he strengthens the hand of the pastors or leaders of the community. He constantly supports, he constantly gives spiritual insight. Many people have problems submitting to someone in spiritual authority. It must be the sign of the times. The difficulty in submission and strength of self-will is amazing. People often have difficulty submitting to someone in spiritual authority over them. It is difficult for most to humble themselves and submit to even God-ordained spiritual authority. When prophets dare come to these communities, brother, there is no doubt in any mind who is in authority. He is the man in charge, and even when he is not here, he is still the man in charge. Let me read that again. He is the man in charge, and even when he is not here, he is still the man in charge. Now, we are the pastors of the community. He does not question our authority. He confirms it. He strengthens us. He affirms us. And yes, he will surely judge us. He provides leadership. Many times, if I email him or call him, he will just say, "What is the Spirit saying to you?" He leaves the decisions totally up to you. He is glad that we are in these areas. When the voice of the last day prophet of God comes to these communities, I automatically sit down and keep my mouth shut. Now let's go to the 16th comment that is posted on this original transcript, so that way we can get an understanding of just the depth of the relationship and respect Pastor Dowell had for R.G. Stair. You know, Brother Jim, the people who are listening to the prophet of God will be blessed. Let me give you the example of what I have done. I was working in the world, and all of a sudden, I heard the voice of the last day prophet. He's referring to R.G. Stair. I was working in the world, and all of a sudden, I heard the voice of the last day prophet of God. I was troubled in my spirit about this pre-tribulation rapture. I began to study it and search it out in the Bible. And according to what I was learning, it did not make any sense comparing with what I was reading about it in the Bible. Then all of a sudden, God allowed me to hear this voice that he had raised up. It was Brother Stair. As soon as I heard that voice, I had to do what the Queen of Sheba had come to do and see for herself if Solomon really had this legendary wisdom of which she was hearing. I did the same thing. I went down to see this voice of the last day prophet of God in Walterboro, South Carolina. I had the witness when I heard him over the radio. Let's go to Pastor Dowell's 39th response from the original transcript. He does. You know, that is the problem that many people have with Brother Stair. They call him loud, obnoxious, rude, or crude. And that is because they cannot get past the flesh. Even with the men of God, when you have to, a lot of time spirits back you up into a corner. As you can see with Pastor Dowell's behavior, as we see displayed throughout this video, falls right in line with the very approach of his mentor, R.G. Stare. So let's go to Pastor Dowell's 53rd response from the original transcript. But the Lord has really blessed us. Prophet Stare opened up the doors and allowed us to come down and to view and see how everything is done at the Overcomer community, which is the model of the communities. You can get all your questions answered in one visit. See, Pastor Dowell stated that I am bringing paganism by way of Christianity to the Hebrew Israelite community, when actually he introduced the occultic practices of R.G. Stares to his own brothers and sisters. R.G. Stare is the actual architect of Strait Way. For Pastor Dowell, the awakening is the perfect storm. In conclusion, I purposely focused on exposing and responding to Pastor Dowell in this video. I successfully identified the origins of the cult behavior of Strait Way, including the fascination with the overly abundance of guns which both men and women carry, which ultimately is an idea that originates with David Koresh of Waco, Texas. Nevertheless, exposing Michael Israel is very simple and straightforward. He doesn't know the scriptures, and so he instigates conflict with the hopes of building his platform and getting someone else who actually know more of the word than he does to defend him. No more talk.